Last night, we were treated to an unbelievable performance by Mika Zibanejad of the New York Rangers, scoring 4 goals in regulation before then scoring the overtime winner to get his 5th goal of the game and bring the New York Rangers within 2 points of the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. Zibanejad became just the 4th player of the 2000s to score 5 goals in a single game, joining the likes of Marian Gaborik, Johan Franzen, and Patrik Laine. This was truly an amazing performance by Mika Zibanejad, and things like this don't happen all that often in the NHL, so it kinda got me thinking back to some other times players absolutely lit it up in a single game. So with that being said, for today's video, we're gonna talk about the best single game performances of the past decade. Beginning the video with a goaltender performance coming from Craig Anderson on April 18th of 2010, and many people will probably remember Craig Anderson for his time spent in the Ottawa Senators uniform. But this performance from Anderson came while he was a member of the Colorado Avalanche during the 2010 NHL playoffs. Anderson had a fantastic 2009-10 season with the Avs, finishing the year with a record of 38, 25, and 7 with a .917 save percentage and a 2.63 goals against average. He was a massive reason why that team was even in the playoffs to begin with. In the Western Conference quarterfinals, the 8th seed Colorado Avalanche found themselves matched up with the 1 seed San Jose Sharks, and the Avs came out early and kinda shocked the Sharks, taking the first game of the series with a final score of 2-1, before then falling in Game 2 6-5 in overtime, heading into Game 3 with the series tied at 1. Game 3 would head to overtime with the score still deadlocked at 0. The Avalanche had no business even being in this game, as the San Jose Sharks dominated play throughout regulation, but luckily for the Avalanche, Craig Anderson was having a special night and held them into the game till the very end, and the Avalanche finally gave him the support he needed 51 seconds into overtime when Ryan O'Reilly scored the game winner to give the Avalanche the 1-0 victory in Game 3. Craig Anderson stopped all 51 shots he faced en route to the shutout, and it was truly one of the greatest playoff performances by a goaltender of all time. And even though Anderson and the Avalanche went on to lose the series in 6 games, it doesn't take away from the fact that Craig Anderson played amazing and was the only reason why the Avs were able to steal 2 games against the Sharks in the first place. Next up, we have Patrik Laine and his performance in a regular season game on November 24th of 2018 against the St. Louis Blues. As soon as Patrik Laine came into the NHL in the 2016-17 season, everybody realized that this kid could score. A 36-goal rookie season, a 44-goal sophomore season, so it honestly wasn't a huge surprise when he lit the St. Louis Blues up on November 24th of 2018. Laine scored a goal in the first period, 3 goals in the second period, and got his 5th goal in the third period en route to an 8-4 Jets victory against the Blues. In my opinion, what makes this performance so impressive is that Patrik Laine did it on just 5 shots. His shooting percentage was 100% this game. Poor Chad Johnson did not stand a chance. This fantastic outing by Laine was just the icing on the cake on what was an unbelievable month of November for him in the 2018-19 season, a month that saw him put up 18 goals in just 12 games, earning him the first star of the month. The rest of his 2018-19 season, however, was pretty forgettable, but at least he bounced back this year, and that 5-goal game is something I'm sure he'll never forget. Moving along now, we have Johan Franzen and his performance in a playoff game on May 6th of 2010. Now, Franzen also had a 5-goal game in the regular season of 2012, but that's not even the performance we're going to talk about in today's video. Throughout his prime and when he was healthy, Franzen was a pretty lethal goal scorer for the Detroit Red Wings, scoring 20 or more goals on 4 different occasions, including a career-high 34 goals in the 2008-9 season. Franzen was also a beast in the playoffs for the Red Wings, putting up 18 points in 16 playoff games when the team won the Cup in 2008, and followed that up with 23 points in 23 playoff games in 2009. And then there was the 2010 playoffs, where Franzen had 18 points in 12 games with the Red Wings, including the performance that I'm about to talk about. It was the 2010 Eastern Conference semifinals. The San Jose Sharks held a 3-0 stranglehold on the series against the Detroit Red Wings. In Game 4, needing a win, Johan Franzen stepped up in a big way. He delivered an unbelievable playoff performance for the Detroit Red Wings, scoring a natural hat-trick in the first period in just 4 minutes and had points on all but one of Detroit's goals in their 7-1 victory. Franzen finished the game with 4 goals and 2 assists for 6 points, and it was pretty impressive that he did this in a must-win game. The Sharks would go on to win the following game and take the series a final score of 4-1, but this is still a pretty impressive performance from Franzen, and I definitely think this one should be on the list ahead of his 5-goal game in the regular season. Let's talk about another 6-point playoff performance, this one coming from from David Pastrnak on April 14th of 2018. I would say David Pastrnak already has the reputation as a very good playoff performer, as in 42 total playoff games, Pastrnak has 17 goals and 26 assists for 43 points. And considering the regular season that he and the Bruins are having this year, I'm sure we're going to be in for another pretty impressive postseason run from him in this up-and-coming playoffs. But now, looking back at the Bruins' 2018 first-round matchup against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they won the first game in pretty convincing fashion with a score of 5-1 and absolutely dominated the Leafs in Game 2, winning the game with a final score of 7-3. This was Pasternak's game right from the get-go. He had a goal and 2 primary assists in the first period, added a helper in the second period, and sealed the game with 2 goals in the back half of the third in Boston's 7-3 win. 6-point regular season games are crazy enough, but doing it in the playoffs just makes it all that much more impressive. I'm sure this game still haunts the Maple Leafs to this day, and considering what has happened the last 3 times these two teams have met in the postseason, I'm sure Toronto would love to avoid a playoff matchup with Boston at all costs. But if they do somehow match up again, Toronto is going to have to find a way to slow down David Pastrnak, or it's just going to be the same old story. Let's talk about another goalie performance, this one coming from Ben Scrivens on January 29th of 2014. And a lot of you may be thinking who, and not even know who Ben Scrivens is. Well, that would make sense because this is a pretty random one. Scrivens at this point has played a total of 155 NHL games and holds a record of 47, 64, and 17 with a career .905 save percentage and 2.92 goals against average. Definitely some pretty average stats, and he obviously isn't a household name. He hasn't even played professional hockey since the 2017-18 season where he was playing in the KHL. But surprisingly, Ben Scrivens actually holds the NHL record for most saves in a single shutout with 59. That's pretty crazy to think about, especially considering Ben Scrivens is a guy that I'm sure a lot of people have never even heard of. For some reason, on this night, on January 29th, the San Jose Sharks just could not put a puck past Ben Scrivens. He was a brick wall for the Oilers. And it's not like the shutout came against one of the worst teams in the league. San Jose was a very good team with a high-flying offense during the 2014 season, but like I said, Ben Scrivens was a brick wall. And even though Ben Scrivens didn't have an extremely successful or long and fruitful career, this is something that nobody can ever take away from him. Of course, until a goaltender comes and takes it away from him by breaking the record, but still, this was an unbelievable performance nonetheless. And saving the best for last, let's talk about Sam Gagner and his performance on February 2nd of 2012. This is another pretty random one. Sam Gagner was the Oilers' 6th overall pick in the 2007 NHL draft, and yeah, he has had a couple of pretty solid seasons in the NHL. He's definitely not the type of player you would expect to have an offensive explosion like he did in that game in 2012. On February 2nd of 2012, Sam Gagner became the first player since the 1988-89 season to put up 8 points in a single NHL game. For some reason, the puck was just following Gagner all around the ice for the entire night. He had a point on every single Oilers goal in the 8-4 victory. The funny thing about this game is the Oilers were actually trailing the Blackhawks a score of 2-0 early in the game before Sam Gagner just decided to take over. Gagner finished the game with 4 goals and 4 assists, and only one of those assists were actually a secondary. The rest were primary. On this night, he was on top of the hockey world. Talking about this makes me wonder, when is the next time we're going to see a player put up 8 points? Sam Gagner is now on the Red Wings after the Athanasiou trade, and guess who the Red Wings play tonight? The Blackhawks, the team Gagner put up 8 points against. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but come on Sam, let's put up another 8-point game tonight against the Hawks. I mean, something good has to happen to the Red Wings this season, right? Before I finish out the video, I do want to give a couple honorable mentions. First off to Claude Giroux, who had 6 points in a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Penguins on April 13th of 2012. That was a great performance. Next up to San Jose Sharks goaltender Martin Jones. Just last playoffs against the Vegas Golden Knights, he stopped 58 shots in Game 6 to force a Game 7 for the Sharks. And then lastly, an honorable mention to Johan Franzen and his 5-goal game in the regular season against Ottawa back in 2012. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Obviously, this one was heavily inspired by Mika Zibanejad and his performance last night. If you guys have not seen it, I definitely recommend you at least go and watch the highlights. MSG was electric. That team is buzzing right now and definitely have a strong chance of making the playoff. But with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please feel free to go down there and drop a like on it, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already and you want to see more NHL content like this. And with that being said, I will see you guys all in the next video.